Hi, this is the third part of our tutorial on how to solve New York Times crossword puzzles. Today we're going to take a look at a Wednesday. This is where the difficulty in any given week usually starts to ramp up a little bit. Monday and Tuesday are very easy puzzles. Wednesday starts to pose more of a challenge. So it's kind of a nice balance between not being too hard but not being dead easy either. So let's get into it. All right, we have a puzzle with vertical symmetry here. So the symmetrical axis is right down the middle of the puzzle at 7 down, going all the way to the bottom, of course. And the puzzle also seems to have some sort of gray shaded squares as part of the theme. That's interesting. And we also have an unusually oversized puzzle today. Most New York Times crosswords are 15 by 15, but this one is actually 16 rows by 15 columns, so kind of interesting. Nonetheless, we still start at the top corner and try to figure out what's going on. So, want to cross, match as subject and verb. That will be agree. Canadian interjections, that is A's. Let's keep building. Top of an espresso. Might be foam, doesn't fit. Not sure here. Let's come back to it. Good-natured. Not sure. Mythical beast that's half lion and half eagle. Well, that's a griffin. Let's forget whether it's spelled with an I or an O, so I'm going to leave that one blank for now. Edmund Blank, Cyrano de Bergerac playwright. Don't know. James, who sang At Last. That's Etta James. Etta James is a name that pops up over and over in crosswords. Again, the letters are just very convenient for crossword constructors. But of course, she's back from like the 20s and 30s, I think. It must be froth on the top of an espresso, so that makes sense. And things that may fly around saloons. I would have said darts if not for that I. Old Spice alternative. Well, now I'm wondering about this griffin. In fact, I bet it's the other spelling of griffin with YPH, which I believe is with an O. Things that may fly around saloons. Old Spice alternative. Boy, we're just not getting anywhere here. That's okay. Old Spice alternative, don't know. Okay, so when we don't know where we're going with the puzzle, the thing to do is to pull out any words we're not sure of, which is exactly what I've done with Griffin here. And now we can either find a new word to build off of or crack into the puzzle a second time, which sometimes happens. It's not ideal, but that's the way it goes. Old Spice alternative, Edmund Blank. This must be affable. There we go. So that F makes it a lot easier to see. And now we've got something to build off of here. So things that may fly around saloons. Must be fists. Fists can fly in a saloon fight. And so our original spelling of Griffin was correct. There you go. Old Spice alternative. Now this I really don't know. We'll come back to it. Film school degree is a BFA. Tackle for one. Probably a lineman. And that completes Griffin as well. So lineman is in the NFL. One who might become a fiancé. Oh, this is clever. It's ami, with the idea being that fiancé is a French word and so is ami. But fiancé also exists in English. And so the fact that part of the clue is in French and therefore you would expect the answer to be in French is hidden at first. So that's a pretty typical example of what you find on Wednesdays. Part of the cello that supports the instrument on the floor. I believe that's an end pin. And that just leaves us with, good God, I have no idea what this is. Edmund Rosand? Roshand? All right, let's leave it. This is not an ideal square to be missing because it comes right in the middle of a completed section, and so we're not going to get any more information for it. But in this case, maybe the theme will shed some light on Griffin. Maybe there's something wrong there somehow, and if not, then we'll make the best of it. Screenwriter Nora, that'll be Efron, another common participant in crosswords. Burn black, that's either char or sear, not sure which one, so I'll fill in the A for now, and then check one of the other crosses. Pitch setter, don't know. Waits for a better offer, say, don't know, so let's leave it. A lowercase f on a blue background for Facebook, that'll be a logo. and Princess of Avalor on a Disney show. Hopeless. No idea whatsoever. But Gamebox info is probably age limit or age range, but either way, probably an E in there. Pitch setter. What if it's an S for seer? I'm not seeing anything here, so try C. Pitch setter. Still don't know. All right, well, then we'll double around. Complete, as suggested by 4 symmetrical pairs of down answers in this puzzle. Might be head to toe. Head to toe does mean complete. Send off as raise. Well, that's emanate. So that would suggest that head to toe is probably correct. And yeah, layered cake is a tort, and like delta force forces will be elite. So this is a good example of how we can double check a word that we're not quite sure of by filling in other crosses. Because now we've got quite a bit here, and even without checking these 3 down answers, 35 through 37 down, you can see that these are letter patterns that are going to be no problem, and so they're likely to be just fine. Stuffed grape leaves, I should know that, but I don't. Half a sextet is a trio. Sextet is a group of 6, trio is a group of 3. Member of the weasel family, it's otter. Not much else it could be with that OTT letter pattern. One of the 3 stooges, well, that's Larry, Moe, and Curly, so that must be Moe. That means stuffed grape leaves must be dolma. Yep, that sounds right for Greek food, because Eric Port Screening Org has got to be TSA. 1896 Olympics locale. Well, if it's as far back as 1896, it's Athens. And let's keep building down here. I Am Sasha Fierce, the Beyonce album. Key and Peele was a skit show. 10-gallon hat. Don't know. Started eating. Don't know. This is a good example of how it's more difficult to fill words if you're working from the middle of the word rather than the beginning. So ideally we would have 63 down here, but we don't know it yet. Plays around, that's probably tinkers though. So that gives us something to work off of. ER workers, don't know. Tell, I'm becoming less convinced of tinkers. Second part of the sign of the cross in formally. Well, it's the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit, so there we go. But that doesn't help us with tinkers because since the clue is plays, as in plays around, you would expect the last letter to be S no matter what it is. So I'm going to take that out. And this is another example of any time you are unsure of one of your words in a crossword, pull it out immediately. Don't keep working on it if you're not sure. It's better to leave it blank than to have a wrong answer in there that's going to throw you off on other words. All right, let's see if we can figure out this bottom section before going to the rest of the puzzle. Tell, started eating, dug into, I bet. That's probably the only thing it can be with that letter pattern. A Stetson hat is a 10-gallon hat. That's a cowboy thing. And yeah, it is age range as opposed to age limit. New Deal Prez is FDR. Well, I should have checked that earlier. That's a total gimme, so it would have made things easier. Pitch setter, don't know. Oh, waits for a better offer, say must be holds out. That makes sense. And so this is char, and pitch setter is clef, as in musical notation. Okay, and that gives us Elena, the Princess of Avalor on a Disney show. I'll take your word for it. Don't know it. ER workers, that's got to be MDs, and so it's monkeys around. And tell will be say to. All right, well that solves that problem nicely. So let's keep going from here. Cheer repeated before sis boomba, that's raw. Many Pennsylvania Dutch speakers has got to be Amish. Menlo Park, California is where Thomas Alva Edison lived and worked, and it's a very common crossword answer. So it's a pretty easy one here. On Wednesdays, Tuesdays and Wednesdays are kind of the days where you're going to start to see a little bit more knowledge that you're just expected to know from solving other crosswords, because new solvers usually are sticking to Mondays. So the deeper into a week you go, the more esoteric the knowledge gets. But with practice, it all comes together. Dark time in France, that's probably nuit for night. Glimpsed is saw, I would assume. Cry of disbelief, I bet it's what the. Indianapolis to Atlanta direction, so this is going to be north-northeast or south-southeast or east-northeast, whatever, some abbreviation like that. You do see those entries pop up every now and then in a crossword, and they're good for getting a constructor out of a jam, but they're not actually that much fun to fill in. Magic Johnson's 10,141. Well, I don't know basketball stats, but I do know Magic Johnson was a basketball player, so it's probably got to be assists. Hush Hush organization, that'll be the NSA. And notice that org is abbreviated in the clue, and so is NSA in the word. Curvy, that'll be sinuous, and so we get south-southeast for Indianapolis to Atlanta direction. I'll take your word for it. And we've come a fair ways here without ever actually filling anything in the theme. And maybe we should, what on earth? Thence? Oh, the NSA. Yeah, we're good there. Okay. We should take another look at the theme here, and it looks like the grade words are anagrams for each other. So, for instance, Athens and the NSA are both anagrams, and I assume that holds out is going to be an anagram for antebellum Dixie. Well, if OUTH are already accounted for, that leaves just SOD and L here. But that's not much help. Probably ends in south. Let's build from there. Astronomer's standard, not sure. Like friends not seen for years, that'll be long lost. Cares for as a garden is tens. She said, little boy, I'm gonna make you a man in a Kinks song. That's probably Lola, another contributor to Crosswords. I must have filled her name in 100 times, but never actually heard the song. Astronomer's standard, oh, that must be Greenwich Mean Time. All right, so if our theory about anagrams is correct, then something's gone wrong because there's no M over here, and holds out I do think is correct. So maybe we don't know what's going on yet. Well, let's keep going. People are asked to sign it after an accident. Let's cast. A group that votes together as a block. Old Mouth. No, it's got to be Old South. There's no other way because Old Mouth doesn't make any sense. Whereas antebellum Dixie means the South before the war, so Old South. And so we're still good to go with these anagrams because that gives us an S. I have no idea what GST stands for though. I'll have to look it up when we finish the puzzle. By the way, this is a Wednesday puzzle, and so because it's more difficult, sometimes you don't get to work through it the way you would want. On previous days, we've been able to go pretty much top left to bottom right, which is exactly how you want to solve a crossword. But with a Wednesday, you sometimes have to go in an odd direction because you just can't find your way in otherwise. And so that's what we were doing here. Flimsy is an excuse. That'll be feeble. Slicing as through water. Don't know. Make right, perhaps in a not so right way. It might be avenge. Let's try avenge. Sea cow, well that's manatee for sure. And once again, we're good with the anagrams. Record for later in a way is TiVo. Knifing through water. What it is supposed to do, not a clue. Woo, what a tiring day. Am I beat? Fair enough. Violinist, zimbalist, I believe that's Ephraim. Again, one of those names that comes up every now and then. What it is supposed to do, I have no idea what this is going to end up being. Distinctively colored freshwater fish, don't know. Bitter, that's a Serb. Académie des Beaux-Arts in France. Must be redfin because the clue pretty much tells us we're looking for a color. Newspaper held in low esteem is a rag, and Umberto Eco is a novelist. Go, this can't be right. Yeah, that A in Ephraim must be wrong. It must be spelled with an E so that we can get go seek. That makes sense. Yeah, and that all comes together fairly nicely. It's a fairly challenging crossword for a Wednesday, actually. Some tricky words in here. Let's finish up in here. High school course often covering the Ennead. That'll be something Latin, probably AP Latin. Making up variations on a theme. I don't know what the verb is, but it's the gerund form, or not the gerund form, the ing form. I forget what that's called. So we're ending in ing because of the clue. Padres hermana. Hermana is sister in Spanish. So we're being asked about the dad's sister, which is the aunt, and tia is Spanish for aunt. Again, basic knowledge of French and Spanish words is often helpful in solving crosswords. If it were Padres hermano, it would be tio because that would be uncle, but in this case it's tia. All right, let's try these ones. Only president who was also Chief Justice. That must be Taft. And I didn't actually know that about Taft, but I do know the names of the presidents, and I know that the only one that fits a four-letter word, second letter A pattern is going to be Taft. Rioters spoils, that'll be loot. Gives deep massage therapy, that'll be Rolfs, I think. Again, a fairly unusual word, but not unheard of on a Wednesday. And even though that F is fairly tough, once you figure out that these gray words are anagrams for each other, life becomes a little easier because you can see that there are two Fs over here. So that's probably fine. Being up variations on a theme, it's going to be riffing. Cigar milder than a Maduro, probably a Claro. That sounds right to me. Performing live, say, that's on stage. Swing by unannounced is pop in, and of course the Y is CPR. And so our theme here, head to toe. Complete as suggested by 4 symmetrical pairs of down answers in this puzzle. Oh, I see. So the first letter of the first anagram is becoming the last letter of the second anagram. And then all the other letters are still in order. Wow, that's really clever. So Griffin becomes riffing, holds out becomes Old South, emanate becomes manatee, and Athens becomes the NSA. And the only letter that gets moved is the first letter in the original anagram to become the last letter in the new anagram. That's quite a clever theme. I missed that as I was solving through. And so this is a good example of how if you're stumped on a particular word, understanding the theme can sometimes make life a little bit easier. Because if I had noticed that, then I would have been able to fill in all of the other theme answers immediately. Anyway, that just leaves us with one cross, Old Spice alternative. First thing to do is check to make sure we're absolutely sure of every cross. So are we sure of that A, affable? Yep, that's what good-natured is. Griffin has to be correct because of the theme. Etta James, I know that name too well. Agree, froth, fists, BFA, Bachelor of Fine Arts, of course. Lineman and end pin. Yeah, those are all correct. So what's left? I guess a T makes the most sense here. The trick for when you have a letter that you're just honestly not sure of is to try out all the possibilities in your head and think about what would make sense in the English language. So in Rose something and, we could have H for Roshand, that would make sense. We could have S for Rosand, we could have T for Rostand, we could have L for Roseland. But the only one that really seems to make anything on Old Spice alternative is probably a T. So let's try that. Yep, there we go. All right, so that was a bit of a tough finish, but nonetheless, a good example of how to solve a Wednesday puzzle. And yeah, just work your way through the grid, get the answers that you can. Sometimes you're going to go off in directions that you didn't expect, and when all else fails, pay attention to the theme and try sounding out words to see what would make sense in English. So a fairly convenient puzzle to use as a tutorial since we got to demonstrate those skills. All right, that's it for today. We'll be back with a Thursday puzzle tomorrow, and Thursday is a tricky day, so we'll get into it.